Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be going through chapters 4 through 11 of Numbers. And just the word Numbers, the title of this book actually comes from a Greek word, and the Old Testament was translated in Greek, and that Greek translation is called the Septuagint. And the word Numbers comes from the census that's taken that we see in chapter 1 and also in chapter 26. And the Hebrew word for this book of the Bible is translated into in the wilderness, which as a whole, when we look at the book of Numbers, in the wilderness really captures what's going on here. But certainly in the area of text of Numbers that we're in right now, we're going to see more organization of the people of Israel into these camps and to get ready for basically for departure. And some other things to point out, this isn't just Hebrew history, and we'll probably touch on this a little more tomorrow. But this is really Christian history, and there's this sense, or there's this tendency, let me say, to look at this as okay, that's for them, that applied to the Hebrew people, but really it's given to us to learn from their mistakes and hopefully not repeat them. But for today, where we're going to be is more still kind of an organization, still some instructions given, and tomorrow we'll get more into the actual departure as they leave Mount Sinai and journey into the desert. Also, what I found interesting, just kind of as a, again, just a framework of where we're at, population-wise, right now, around 1400, 1300 BC. Population, just to give you an idea, Egypt at this moment in time, where we're at, Egypt had a population of 4 million, which is equivalent to Los Angeles, and Los Angeles being the second largest city in the U.S. And then Palestine had a population of approximately 200,000 during this time period, and that would equate to today's population of Boise, Idaho, or Shreveport, Louisiana. Okay, so jumping into chapter 4, the chapter 4 deals with the duties of the priesthood, or those who serve the priests, and how the breakdown of the tabernacle needs to go, and who are going to have the duties of transporting the tabernacle. And what we see is, first of all of note, is Aaron and his lineage are really the priest, and the other Levites, that aren't direct descendants of Aaron are serve in the priesthood, but they're not the priest. So the priests are those that are the only ones who can go into into the holy place, into the most holy place. Once again, that happens once a year during the Day of Atonement, which is one of the feasts that we saw earlier on. And with that, in chapter 4, we see the services. Well, one, a census being taken of the servants of the priesthood, Kohath, Gershon, and Merari. And we see a census, and we also see duties being assigned to them. And so Kohath, they had the duty of transporting all of the contents inside of the most holy place, being the Ark of the Covenant, and in the holy place as well, the table of showbread, the golden altar, and the utensils. And then what we see is they can't touch it. Only Aaron can touch it. Aaron and his sons. So Aaron and his sons are the ones who are really doing the breakdown. And as they're breaking all of this stuff down, they're covering it in badger skin. That badger skin would protect all of the contents in this desert environment. And so once it's all broken down, well, then these various servants of the priesthood are the ones who are going to be responsible for transporting it. Because literally, if they were to have touched these different components that make up the tabernacle, they would have died. And God gives that warning saying, hey, lest these guys be cut off, you're going to do this, and then you're going to assign them specifically by name to those who within each clan, if you will, or each group of the priesthood, you're going to assign to them by name what their responsibility is. Okay, so we see that, and then we see Gershon, again, a census taken. Gershon's carrying the curtains of the tabernacle, the screens for the door of the tabernacle, for the gate, the hangings that were in the court, which are around the tabernacle, and then and the altar, and then the cords, and then also some of the furnishings for the service. And then for the sons of Merari, they're carrying stuff like the boards, the bars, the pillars, the sockets, pegs, cords, and also with all of their furnishings as well. And in general, let's see, census of the Levites. It says as far as service goes, it's going to be from 30 years of age and above. Later on, we see that again. It changes to 25 years of age and above. Not sure of the difference there, but just something that I noted. But nonetheless, there's this age range given where the males in service to the priesthood, or even in the lineage of Aaron, this will be the time period that they'll serve. Okay, moving into chapter 5, we see the unclean persons isolated. So just kind of a brief snippet again. We saw some stuff more in detail in previous chapters of leprosy, but here again it's just saying, hey, if there's someone in your camp who's a leper, put them out. Put them out of the camp, whether they be male or female. And so the children of Israel obeyed. And then confession and restitution. Again, some instructions given here on if a sin is committed, that the restitution can be that restitution for the trespass can be instituted in full. But then there's also this addition of 1/5. So again, we're seeing a 20% here. So I don't know. Let's say I killed one of your ox, whatever the price of that. Let's say the ox is $100. Well, I'm going to give you $120, or an ox and $20. Let's say. And then we see concerning unfaithful wives. This was kind of neat because it appears to be the first lie detection test, and jealousy. Being a big part of any marriage, whether an event actually happened or not, just jealousy can really creep inside of a relationship and do damage. And what would take place here if the husband was suspicious or just jealous for good reasons or not for good reasons, to nip this in the bud, the wife was brought to the priest, and then the priest, with dust off of the ground in the tabernacle, and then these scrapings of this oath that the wife would take would be put into this water, and she would drink this water. And if her belly swelled, and her thigh rotted, then she would have committed an act of adultery or whatever it may be to give credence for the husband to be jealous. If not, hey, it's done, case closed, and they can move on in their relationship. And then in chapter 6, we saw the law of the Nazarite. The word Nazarite translates into separated, and usually what we would see with the Nazarites is this vow would last for usually 30 days, at most to 100 days. We will see some rare cases as we move along in the Bible of people who had vowed to be a Nazarite for life, and that would be Samuel, Samson, and John the Baptist. And in the vow that they would take, the part of the vow was there were 3 tenets to the vow. They would not eat or drink fruit of the grapevine. They would not cut their hair, and they would not go near a dead body. And this, there's something to this that points to Luke chapter 14, verse 26, where in Luke we see this scripture given by Jesus, and what he says in chapter 14, this is kind of off the cuff, I hadn't prepared this, but here we go, is, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And there's kind of an element of that here with this Nazarite vow. For uh, for to be joyful, he withdrew from joy because wine represented joy. To be strong, he became weak. And that's pointing to as a man with long hair. Um, this was kind of a shame for a man. So to be strong, he became weak. And in order to love his relatives, he hated them. Okay. All right, so the law of the Nazarite. And then at the end of chapter 6, the priestly blessing. And the Lord speaks to Moses and says, hey, tell Aaron, this is the way you shall bless the children of Israel. Say to them, and this is such a beautiful blessing. Verse 24 of chapter 6 says, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. So they shall put my name on the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Chapter 7, there's an offerings of the leaders. So the leaders of the 12 tribes of Israel come forth with an offering, and it's to bless the altar. And again, we see this very detailed chapter here, really capturing everything that takes place, pointing to, again, just the details of God, and that every detail really matters. And then there's an accounting of ultimately what was given in each of these offerings. And at the end of chapter 7, verse 89, it says, now when Moses went into the tabernacle of meeting to speak with him, he heard the voice of one speaking to him from above the mercy seat that was on the ark of the testimony, or ark of the covenant, from between the two cherubim. Thus he spoke to him. And this is really an exception because Moses was not a priest, and this was not the Day of Atonement. But nonetheless, there was a command given, and Moses went in to the most holy place and spoke with God there. Chapter 8, arrangements of the lamps. Just again, some details given there. And cleansing and dedication of the Levites. And with the cleansing and dedication, really what this is about is, and we can see this in verse 16 of chapter 8, it says, for they are wholly given to me from among the children of Israel, the Levites. I have taken them for myself instead of all who open the womb, the firstborn of all the children of Israel. And here's where we see the 25 years of age at the end here in verse 24. From 25 years old and above, one may enter to perform service in the work of the tabernacle of meeting, and at the age of 50 years, they must cease performing this work. Okay, chapter 9, the second Passover. So remember in Exodus, right before they left, the first Passover where all the firstborn, including the sons, were killed, even Pharaoh's son, and that's really what prompted saying, hey, Moses, get out of here. And that started the Exodus out of Egypt. So that was the first Passover there. Well, now here in the wilderness is their second Passover. And there's some instructions here. One, there's some people evidently that missed the first Passover, which was during the second month of the second year. And so they missed the first one. But then the next month they were given the okay to celebrate Passover that second month. Also, we see that strangers and the natives of the land can also perform Passover, but they're going to have to do it as if they were a Jew. They're going to have to follow the same ordinance. We also see the cloud and the fire in chapter 9, and this is just really awesome. So it says in verse 16, so it was always, a cloud covered it by day, and the appearance of fire by night. Verse 18, at the command of the Lord the children of Israel would journey, and at the command of the Lord they would camp. As long as the cloud stayed above their tabernacle, they remained encamped. Even when the cloud continued long, many days above the tabernacle, the children of Israel kept the charge of the Lord and did not journey. And then in chapter 10, the silver trumpets. And then in chapter 10, the departure from Sinai. And we'll revisit this tomorrow in terms of kind of how that took place physically with the orders of each camp's taking off. And then lo and behold, in chapter 11, we're going to see once again the complaining of the people of the children of Israel. So again, this is not just their history, it's also ours. So may we learn from it. And until we gather again tomorrow, may the Lord bless you, and see you then.